South Africa is a country with a rich, complex, and often painful history shaped by indigenous cultures, colonization, and a long struggle for freedom. Long before European settlers arrived, the land was home to indigenous groups like the Khoisan, and later the Bantu-speaking peoples, including the Zulu and Xhosa. These communities developed their own cultures, languages, and systems of governance. In 1652, the Dutch East India Company established a settlement at the Cape of Good Hope. This marked the beginning of European colonization. Over time, Dutch settlers known as Boers expanded inland, clashing with indigenous populations over land and resources. In the early 1800s, the British took control of the Cape Colony. Tensions between the British and the Boers led to the Great Trek, where many Boers moved inland. This eventually led to the Anglo-Boer Wars at the end of the 19th century, with the British emerging victorious. In 1910, South Africa became a union under British rule, but racial segregation was already deeply entrenched. Then, in 1948, the government officially introduced apartheid, a system of institutionalized racial segregation that separated people based on race and denied non-white citizens basic rights. Apartheid laws controlled where people could live, work, and even whom they could marry. Black South Africans were forced into separate areas and had limited access to education and opportunities. Resistance grew over the years, led by activists and organizations like the African National Congress. One of the most prominent leaders was Nelson Mandela, who was imprisoned for 27 years for his fight against apartheid. International pressure and internal unrest eventually forced change. In the early 1990s, apartheid laws were dismantled, and in 1994, South Africa held its first democratic elections, where all citizens could vote. Nelson Mandela became the country's first black president, marking a new chapter in South Africa's history, a transition from oppression to democracy. Today, South Africa is known as the Rainbow Nation, symbolizing its diverse cultures and peoples. While challenges remain, the country continues to work toward equality and unity.